Fast often, right?
Fast every month.
Talk to me about the importance of fasting.
The importance of fasting, on the levels to which I understand, basically is simply just to give your body a deeper reset than it already does on the daily. Because when we sleep, we're already in a fasted state, for however amount of hours it is that you sleep. But just taking it to another level, to just allow your body to go into that process of being able to identify those free radicals, those toxins that it has the ability to release, right? And fasting manifests itself in so many different ways, but it's mostly to reset, realign, give my body a break, understand myself more on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, and understand that just be able to improve my self-control. Food is many people don't view food as a drug, but we eat every day. I mean, you eat every day, and I mean, by definition, at least how we've been taught, drugs are typically things that you overuse, overconsume to some level of detriment. And we know that some of our nutritional dietary patterns and protocols don't always benefit us.
And you do it once a month. And
once a month, 3 days.
3 days. Every time you fast is for 3 days.
Every time.
Why 3 days?
I've chosen 3 days because one, it's manageable.
Right.
And it's a phase. Each day has its own particular purpose.
Right.
As far as the liquids or things that I do on each particular day.
No, Trisha's gonna be talking for longer than that.
so pretty much so day one, the first few months of the year I started out with day one was my all liquids. My teas, my herbal tonics, my waters, my juices. Then day 2 was just water, and then day 3 was dry. I did that for the first few.
All right, so I fasted. I only did water. Your first day was my everyday, right? We all fast differently, but explain why you broke it down from your teas and your waters, and then to just water, and then to dry. Dry meaning you don't consume
anything at all
on your third day.
On the third day, that's how I started.
Oh, you don't do that now.
I do, but I just flipped it. I start dry, then go to waters, then go to my herbal teas, juices.
And what made you do it this way? Did you get it from somewhere?
Which way?
Like, did you learn this from somewhere?
Yes, I did. One, the initial way that I did it, I was like, okay, I applied to just not stopping cold turkey. I'm not just gonna stop eating like that drastically. I'm gonna just slowly, abandon or wean myself off of these things for a few days, right, until it's nothing, and then just do the reverse as I come back on, slowly bring the things back on. Then I had a conversation with somebody whom I respected, who has proven to me that they're very knowledgeable based on their exposure and their experiences and conversations and their own particular research. It was like, yo, try it this way, all right? And they explained why, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it. Let me see what happens. I tried it, and at that particular point in time, the fast was a lot easier. So I've just been doing it that way ever since.
And can you explain, how do you feel after you fast?
Man, well, first off, each day presents its own feelings and emotions. But after I fast, I feel so what's the word? I feel it's like you have something that you want to tell somebody. I'm gonna put it to you like this, okay? Let's say you do something and you want to tell somebody, but you don't just want to offer the information. You want them to ask you about something. So when it's time for you to release it, it's a different type of emotion. So it's like every time I fast, I feel like, wow, I got this release by my own merit. I'm in control, and I recognize that I'm in control. I recognize that I feel a lot better. Better meaning that I'm thinking clearer. I'm feeling a lot more energized. I feel stronger. I'm I'm not as you know as controlled by the things that I see every day. You know what I'm saying? That's what I mean when I feel better. I feel a lot more in control. I feel a lot more at peace. I feel a lot more clarity within myself when I say I feel better. So I don't just want to say feel better as in it's just the opposite of bad. That's what I mean when I feel better.
And when on your fast, you fast from everything? Like, do you fast from?
This is just a nutritional fast. It's not to that level. No.
Got it. And when you're fasting, do you work out?
When I've been fasting the past couple of days, I've been working out, but not as intense.
Okay.
Yes. In the beginning, I did not, which made the atrophy, muscle atrophy, very bad. Like I felt very, very weak, very weak. And then when it was time for me to, get back into things, I kind of felt like a beginner again, because it's really a drastic. Because when you're an elite athlete and you're working at such a level of intensity very often, like you just cut off that life support, it's very difficult.
So how much you weigh?
The last time I stepped on the scale, I was 198.4 pounds.
How do you maintain mass?
I eat and I work out. That's all I do. I eat food, I lift weights. There's no secret. There's nothing to it. I eat a lot and I work out a lot.
Tell me what your meals are throughout the day.
So, I wake up, I drink water, coconut water, probably some juice. That's it. I do not eat typically until between 12 and 2 o'clock. And when I eat, I will have maybe like a whole package of like some spelt or kamut pasta. I'd have some mushrooms, some oyster mushrooms or some portobello mushrooms, saute them up. Maybe some chickpeas, some quinoa, a bucket of salad, some avocados. That's pretty much what I'd eat.
And you don't get bored with your meals?
I do not get bored at all, because everything, when you're a plant-based individual, everything it doesn't come as it is. Some things that you got to make them. So the process of making those foods, or at least imitating those same foods, is enjoying, like making pizza. You know what I'm saying? I don't go to the pizza store and just find pizza that's friendly for my dietary restrictions.
And you cook everything yourself?
For the most part, I cook everything
You're
myself.
You're rarely eating out?
Rarely.
And when you eat out, how does that work? Like, what do you eat? Like, what's your...
When I compromise my nutritional practices.
Okay. When I compromise my nutritional practices, I like that.
I'll have things like, I'll eat fries, things that come from potatoes, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower probably. And in the most desperate situations, I will have like things that like Beyond Meat, you know what I'm saying? But if I'm absolutely just not with it, I'm not eating at all. I'll make sure that I fill up enough before I leave the house. But in desperation, absolutely no time at all, those are the things that I would eat.
It's funny you mentioned that. How do you feel about the Beyond products?
No comment. But I will say this: there are more nutritional options than that, for sure.
So you don't...
I put it like this: if you look at the ingredient list,
you don't indulge into any of those products. You said you do eat it.
Correct.
But it's not an everyday practice.
For example, if you were on a deserted island and you were a plant-based individual, you had to survive, you're going to eat a fish. You have to survive. You're not just going to survive over your own urine and posts. You need to eat food. So that's what I see that as. You know what I'm saying? If in desperation or in very, very unique circumstances only, would that be a time when I would do that? 9 times out of 10, that's not my situation. So you look at the ingredient list. If there is at least just one word that you cannot pronounce, it's not for you. If you look at the ingredient list and you look and you see a whole story, it's not for you. If you look at the ingredient list and you see a story, but there are things that you cannot read, and they're not whole ingredients themselves, there's too much going on. It's not for you.
So every time you're shopping, you look at the back of
every single time, 10 times out of 10.
And where do you usually get your produce from?
Produce, I'll go anywhere, but I typically shop at organic markets, Flatbush Frontier Market, Flatbush Food Co-op, the downtown market in Flatbush, stores that I typically know have majority organic produce.
Are you a fan of Trader Joe's?
I'm not gonna say that I'm not a fan. I don't shop there. Yeah.
But if it was nearby, would you?
Probably not. Probably not.
Why is that though?
I've been to Trader Joe's once in my life, and I just wasn't
I
impressed.
read a book by 50. It's called Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter.
Curtis Jackson?
Yeah. And in the book he said.
In the club? Candy shop?
Yeah. In
You
the
ever
book.
see that, Johnny?
In the book he said, listen, bro. In the book he said Lloyd Banks he didn't reach his full potential because he was lazy, right? And he said he was so lazy that he had it tattooed on him. He tattooed Lazy Lloyd on his arm, not knowing the power and the words that he spoke into existence. And he was like, yo, I'm lazy, but like I'm good with where I'm at. So when you said you didn't like the word humble, like explain that to me.
All right. I was listening. I forgot who it was that was speaking. Oh my God! But I was watching this video, and they were like, they hate when their person uses the word humble. Look up the definition, and I looked it up. I was like, I'm so with this. I freaking completely and 100% adhere to the definition. Every single one of those definitions is not positive at all. So it doesn't matter what context you put it in. It's asking you to be, it's asking you, it's based off the definition that's given. It's asking you to think less and be less of. Not with it at all.
So how would you? We all know what people mean when they say be humble, right? We all know what they mean.
For sure.
But when you really look into the depth of the definition, there's no way you should even use that in your everyday vocabulary.
It's like eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Exactly. So how would you replace that? And what advice would you give somebody who uses the word humble and says, I'm humble?
Maybe gratitude, appreciative, humility, probably. I can be better, probably for lack of individual term, just different phrases and mantras that you can use in saying humble.
Because the words, you believe that words are that powerful.
Yes.
It truly brings down your vibration, even though your intent or your what you may think that the word means, just saying it period, because it means that, it still brings down your frequency.
It's all a vibration, man. Sound, words are sound. Our words are our sounds, they're vibrations.
So even if I don't know what it means in its full capacity and I use it to describe myself, even if I'm not aware, it will still subconsciously bring down my being.
I think so. Firmly, wholeheartedly.
That's deep. So if I thought that the word God meant something different, and when I use that word God, I'm using it to describe what I think it means opposed to what it really means. Although I think it means something different, when I say it, whether good or bad, it's still going to be that.
That leads to perception being your reality. I guess, we make, this probably might end up contradicting what I was saying, but I guess you give definition to the words that you use. All words are made up, right? But perception is reality. So that definition of that we accepting of that word is our acceptance of reality to somebody else's perception. So whatever you would have believed to what God meant, you're creating your reality of, you're also creating your reality based on somebody else's perception of what you have been taught God is. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you may think God is what God is to you, and it may raise you up or whatever. But there's also an element that I guess what most people perceive what God is, you know what I'm saying? I feel like that vibration also plays into, your frequency as well.
Mm.
Alright, so
But do you believe that there's like, when we pass away and we go to the next, whatever happens when we do go, do you believe
when
that
y'all go, you mean?
Huh?
When y'all go, I'll be here. You forgot. I can't die. You forgot. I see.
Do you believe that people who believe in God goes to this magical palace in the sky and meets a higher power, and he greets them and say, "Hey, my child, welcome." So, like, give me your perception of that. Do you believe God is in us? Do you believe that you are God?
Yes, I do believe that God is in us. I do believe that God is in all sentient things. Yes, I do. Just like I said, as you know, the concept of heaven and hell, as you asked me earlier. I think that we look at heaven and hell as a concept. You know, hell is probably something that you're probably just going to relive if you do not transcend or elevate beyond that point and do better. Beyond that point, you will consistently continue to live, those traumas, or your spirit is not going to be in a place where you want it to be, where you need it to be, unless you have the ability or are given the opportunity to be able to transcend beyond that hell. So I don't think there's a heaven and a hell per se. You know what I'm saying? I just do think that you transcend to a higher level of being, like your spirit outside of the physical transcends to another realm.
What can, and someone asks you this question, D, what can I do to enhance my spirit? What would you tell them?
Know yourself, learn yourself. You have to learn yourself, all right? And be in tune to your environment, understand how these things affect you and how you choose to let them affect you. Because I think a lot of things in our existence are choices, especially stress and depression. People argue that would be up and down, but I feel like you choose how you react to something, and like the body has an innate response to things, right? But then you choose how deep and how much in depth that is going to dictate how you react to move forward. Like stress is stress, but like to be in a state of stress is a decision. You know what I'm saying? You work out, you're stressing your body. You know what I'm saying? When you are in a particular type of work environment, probably, you know what I'm saying? It's like, medical worker, a police officer, somebody like. In the army, if you're going to war, you're in a stressful situation, but you also have to be composed, and be able to exist in that stressful situation. So you can't choose like, oh, this is gunfire. Like, you know what I'm gonna do? You're making a decision to carry yourself in that type of environment. As a nurse, you have to be able to, you have to be able to handle the things that you already know is gonna come.
Maintain composure.
That's gonna come with what you let yourself in. I think it's a choice.
Always a choice. And sometimes people get so caught up into their stress and things that come with it that becomes their reality, and they can't escape it when it's literally one step away. That's deep. That's deep.